Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to Mechabellum. Season 2 is a go and I just had one of my most insane games in terms of economy that I've ever had. And I'm not just saying that from my perspective, it also was for my opponent as he got some crazy cards too. What made it possible for me is the training specialist, the new specialist that has been added into the game. And well, you already know what I'll be picking. It'll be this guy over here with the arc lights and the steel balls. We get access to an intensive training on round 1. And we also have an additional 50 resources on the first round, as you can see over here. Opponent starts with Stormcaller Fang, and is a missile specialist. And obviously I'll be going aggro here to try and make use of my steel balls as best as I can. What you'll see me do is I will obviously buy some chaff, some crawlers to try and distract the storms. And I'll try and space them so that I don't get hit by really valuable missiles from my opponent. So I don't want his missiles to hit like an arc light and a steel ball and a crawler. I want him to only be able to hit a steel ball or an arc light or a crawler and not multiple things at the same time. So here, this is kind of what I would have run ideally, but you'll see me reposition some of these crawlers very shortly. Intensive Training Specialist, I think it is quite good. It seems middle of the pack. It doesn't seem overly powerful to me. However, there are situations, like in this game, where it can pay off massively. Especially with a little bit of foreboding. The Enhancement module is very valuable for this specialist. Things you can do on round 1 is only really level up 100 cost units, but a level 2 arc light can be nice. Something else you can do is use it the same way you would, for instance, an aerial spec or a supply specialist, and try and cheese by buying an air unit on round 1. Now, this isn't great for me here. I want chaff, but with certain openers, like let's say Tarantula Crawler or Tarantula Fang, you could just buy a Phoenix on round 1 and then not use the level up, or level up a unit and then only be able to purchase the level up the turn after. Arc light here, one on the outside. I didn't really want to have 3 arc lights on the right because I didn't think there was a lot of value in that, and it actually does really well as my steel balls move into the right side, get the tower, and my arc light on the left managed to somehow solo kill a pack of fangs and an arc light, and that was just a good engagement for me because there's no difference between my opponent and myself in terms of stats on the units. Round 2, we immediately get 3 units, and you might see that this has changed significantly since the last patch. The round 2, and especially up to round 4-5, I would say, 3 unit reinforcements look very different, and they've kind of gone down in value. So there's a bunch of new packs that have been added with lower level units, and some of the high level unit drops are either more expensive or have been moved up a round. So I think this is a great change, and it definitely does impact the game a bit because of how powerful the 3 unit rounds are, right? So the fact that you have all these different options now really does change at least the early game, in my opinion. I pick up the Farseer, so does my opponent. This unit is extremely good, especially this early on. One of the best units just without techs. You don't really need to do much, and it will always perform. Opponent goes for a very, very safe missile there on the outside crawlers. I decided to put a shield down because I was like, you can probably try and hit the steel ball and the crawler, and there's quite a low chance of this missile, this shield dying anyway because of how my units are moving forward. And so I was willing to just put this down since I had the resources. Farseer, though, is doing a very good job, and this turn my steel balls are not able to get in. It comes down to a bit of a duel here between the Farseers, but with the backup from the Stormcallers, my opponent will come out ahead, and so he will be bouncing back immediately on round number 2. Round 3. We get quick teleport, which could be interesting. Another missile strike for my opponent if he wants to. It's also pretty good for me. I can hit the storms here. Efficient giant manufacturing could be an idea. And in hindsight, I probably should have picked this, but it's tough to know. I decided to go for the quick teleport instead, trying to make some flank plays happen. And yeah, we'll have to see how we can make use of that. I don't think this was the right pick for me, though. Because it's kind of hard for me to make good flank plays happen. I can kind of put crawlers in the corners and try and get pulls, but the Farseer will pretty much cover any air cheese I can do, especially on the right side. And opponent does go for the efficient giant manufacturing. I decide to go for double Mustang. And this is a bit of an unfortunate one, considering my opponent instantly ranges his arclights on turn 3. But the reason I went for Mustang is because I saw all of these fangs. And yeah, I was worried that late game my opponent would go shielded fang and my arclights would not be enough. And so instead what I decided to do here is just go for a level with the intensive training, try and stack one side with the Mustangs and hope that I can get in. I know that the level 2 Mustang is hard to kill for arclights, and well, I was hoping that he wouldn't have range just yet. And yeah, I was hoping to overpower the left side of the board, but as you can see, the range here doing quite a decent job. We're still going to move in. Level 2 Mustang's good enough, but I lose a lot of resources, and right side didn't really change, and so we're still losing over there. We are kind of managing to get in, but the Stormcaller has managed to finish off the Mustang, so we won't be getting a debuff. Maybe I can finish off the Farseer. At least save myself 300 hit points. That will be possible, but it will be another round going to my opponent. And yeah, I should have not picked Quick Teleport there. There were a bunch of good options, but I think I should have gone Efficient Giant Manufacturing and just kind of, yeah, set up. And here we get the Enhancement module. So, fantastic pairing, right, for my Specialist. I have the Intensive Training available next turn, and I'll be able to make a lot of money, especially with the new, more expensive Overlord. We have never had a unit in the game that can carry an item and is 250 cost to upgrade. So it's a unit that is more valuable than ever for the Enhancement module, the new Overlord. But my opponent gets a really good card as well after having picked Efficient Giant Manufacturing, and that is Mass-Produced Fortress. His fortresses now cost 250, only 50 more than something like a Sledgehammer, but with the exact same powerful techs. So this is probably one of the craziest games that you're going to see from now on, because both of us are, yeah, swimming in money and swimming in value. I decide to simply sell out of a steel ball there and go for the Overlord. I can only afford one because of how expensive it is, but I was hoping it would get a level this turn because my opponent might not have anti-air, and he doesn't. And if it levels, I can then use the Enhancement module on this next turn and the Intensive Training to instantly make it a level 3 Overlord and effectively gain 500 resources in terms of upgrade. I decided to float the Enhancement module, by the way, because I didn't want to level up an Arclight. And I didn't necessarily want to sell an Arclight next turn. But yeah, opponent now already starting to move into Fortress, and he has really good techs to make this happen as well. I think Mass-Produced Fortress is strongest when you have these type of techs that are unaffected by the stat change from the Mass-Produced card, like Fang Production, like Anti-Air Barrage, and yeah, he does run them. No barriers, but the Fang Production definitely might be a problem. I'll speed things up here as my boat will try and clean up, but you can see it's already picked up enough experience to get the level up next turn. And so that's a guaranteed 500 extra resources into my own pocket. And round 5, on top of my crazy intensive training enhancement module round, we get free units as well. Now the Wasps look kind of tempting. They're a pretty good pack. Like Triple Wasp is new as well. You weren't able to get that before. But I decided to go Sledgehammer instead because I was expecting the Fang production. And so I thought to myself, the Wasps are probably not going to be that effective anyway. And Sledgehammer Boat is a decent comp. Good frontline. It'll help protect my Overlords. I get an enhancement module there onto my other steel ball, level it. So that's 100 extra resources, and then we do exactly what we said we were going to do, level up the Overlord from its own level and the intensive training. And so currently we're already made 600 credits on this turn. So yeah, This will start snowballing very, very quickly. Of course, we buy another Overlord. I decide to add some Fangs here to the front line as my chaff. An opponent goes for anti-air on Fortress first. Missile is back off cooldown, trying to hit my Mustang. I decide to at least shield to protect the high level one. And I still have 550 left, so I probably want to go for a tech here. I'm running the carry techs again with the range and the overload. And I think running Photon is very valuable as well, especially with the new addition of Raiden and that unit having EMP. I have actually used Photon quite a bit on this new season. I decided to put a Sledgehammer all the way in the back to kind of pull this Arclight and maybe some chaff. But the Fort AA there doing way more damage than expected, especially considering that my Overlords are way tankier now, right? Like they got 40% more hit points than old Overlords, but the level 1 is already close to dying. The level 3 luckily seems to be fine. I managed to get debuff. We'll still have to get rid of this fortress on the left and then move into the right. And the opponent already has the second tech with Fang production. The Fort AA takes out my level 1 Overlord, and the level 3, mind you, is already down to half HP, even though it has 77,000 hit points. A couple stray Fangs there, delaying my boat, and more Fangs spawning. And we might not be able to finish this off. Fort AA is just going and going. He gets my shield, gets my tower, and with the debuff, I take more damage. And so, somehow, Fort AA there managing to take down a new Overlord with 77,000 hit points. I could not believe when I saw this. But round 6, we get another enhancement module if we want to. Now the thing is, I can only sell one thing at a time, so I decided not to pick it up. And instead pick the Ion Blast, because it's a really good spell as well. But it does mean my opponent gets an enhancement module of his own, which doesn't help me at all, because he was already getting a lot of money from efficient giant manufacturing and mass-produced fortress in terms of value. But now he also gets more money just from level ups on the fortresses. These still cost 200 to upgrade, so this will give him an even better cash injection. And, well, as you do when you get these cards, all he has to do now is just keep spamming the fortresses and get more techs, which he does. So more fortresses added, 3 fortresses added onto the board, 1 sold. And Shielded Fangs picked up. And I didn't know Shielded Fang was coming out, so I kind of need something like Mustang here, maybe to help me out, because I don't run HE on the Overlords, and I think I would have been in a better spot if I did. But without HE Overlord, I can't really deal with the Shielded Fangs, so I'll have to make sure that I do get myself some Mustangs here at some point. And the Ion Blast I'm using on the wrong side of the board. I wasn't really paying attention, I think, during this turn, and I wasn't expecting him to sell out of the right side, and I was just hoping that I could kill the right side and then power through on the left where I had all of my Overlords. But yeah, you can see that I'm kind of hitting basically nothing. Would have been much better if I could simply use it on the left side this turn. But yeah, Overlords here almost getting one-shot there with the first salvo of Fort AA. I did sell out of my high level one. The reason for that is because I wanted to get the money. Even though the one Overlord at high level is tanky enough to at least tank some salvos, it's not going to win me the game. The only way that I will win the game is through numbers, getting multiple giants on the board. But yeah, I am taking a whole bunch of damage here. And I have 1 Farseer left. I did use the enhancement module on that so that I can sell out of it next turn. But yeah, that is not a good round. Down to 254 hit points all of a sudden. Yikes. Orbital Javelin, though, shows up, and I have got a good target for it. Can hit 3 fortresses here on the left. Opponent skipping the spell yet again. It's kind of surprised with this. I thought it would have been worth for him to try and hit an Overlord maybe, but he seems to be confident in his board. Sells out of the fortress, levels up another one with the enhancement module, and just adds more fortresses to the board. Range now picked up on the fortresses as well. This will at least keep them at distance somewhat and help him clear the sledgehammers that are on the board. I decided to get range here on my Mustang. And we try and jav the 3 fortresses on the left side of the board. I sell my Farseer and I level up the Overlord. Once because it leveled and once because of the intensive training. So we are making a bunch of money yet again. And this turn I decide, you know what? Mustang AM has been buffed recently and it is very strong. So let's see how much it can do if I just buy triple Mustang and give it the missile interceptor tech. I still have 600 left after that play. And yeah, I could just take double defense enhancement to try and make sure that my Overlords are a bit tankier. Maybe my Mustangs can tank some shots from the ranged arc lights on the board. But yeah, I do get a really good value javelin there. And maybe, just maybe, we can hang on for one more turn and keep snowballing our economy. Mustangs are doing a fantastic job at intercepting those AA missiles, by the way. And they're also providing pretty good chaff and chaff clear against those shielded fangs. Tower there is leveled, but level 2 should go down relatively quickly against these Overlords. I do get debuffed, but I have a level 3 Overlord here, and that will be able to tank some of these missiles. Then we get our own debuff, and now all that's left is trying to clean up these remaining fortresses on the board. Fangs are being a bit of a pest. I ran out of Mustangs, they all died. But lucky for us, we do manage to survive a round, and we won't be going down just yet. And so this will send it to round number 8. Round number 8, there's an advanced defensive tactics which I decide to pick up, just trying to get as much hit points as possible. And normally I would probably skip it, but because I'm swimming in money, I don't think it's bad to pick up. We're getting a lot of health buffs here. I think we're already at 45 and then 75 bonus hit points, which is basically the same as Fortified Overlord, but without the attack debuff that card gives. We sell out of the Overlord again, get as much money available as possible, buy more Overlords, level some Overlords, use the intensive, not use the intensive, use the enhancement module, excuse me, and we add more Overlords to the board. I level my right tower to level 3, and so here we go. Opponent finally adds a different unit to the board, decides that melting points are required to get rid of these Overlords. And I think that is a sensible move. It does lock onto the Overlord there on the left. Middle, though, seems to be very favored for me. We don't really care about these fangs that are going to my tower because they shouldn't be able to take down my level 3 tower very quickly. And so we've cleared everything in front of the left tower now. We will get debuff, and hopefully we can clear the final 2 fortresses before my tower falls. Got a couple Mustangs left too, which is very nice. Tower will fall, but it doesn't really matter. And so we managed to pick up another round. And maybe, just maybe, we can make this comeback happen. Round number 9. 3 units offered. Rhino, Marksman, Scorpion, and Vulcan. My opponent decides to go for Vulcan, and I think that I know what is coming my way. Fire bombs definitely seem to be a very valuable tech this late in the game, especially against my Mustangs. And for me, it's probably just a sell. I can either take the Scorpion, but the problem is I've got the intensive training module as well, so it's a bit awkward for me to make use of these units. I could try and go for Vulcan myself, though, and take the oil from the tower, try and set stuff on fire. And yeah, I will be deciding to pick that up. Got a bunch of levels available. Overlord here did level up yet again, so we've got another free level up. I've got intensive training available too. And so you'll see me take the level up there, we sell, and then we make another level 3 Overlord out of this guy. Vulcan here on the right side, I'm just deciding to keep them. Trying to put some fire down and hoping that this will burn the stuff that's trying to move into my right tower as I keep hammering down on the left side of the board. I think here though, I probably could have tried to go for the other tower as well, but yeah, you can see my opponent goes for the same play, and sadly, because I'm playing aggro, I can't really do anything about this. This oil will be there, and the incendiary bomb plus the sticky oil bomb is simply going to be enough, or too much, for my Mustangs to intercept, so the board will be covered in fire from now on. Now, my Mustangs might remain safe for a little bit, but as soon as they start crossing this line, they will die. Now they're staying outside though. Right side did ignite for me as well. We're at least burning the fangs. Overlords are moving in, and it looks like my Mustangs have lived for long enough to at least get rid of the fangs. The Overlord there, level 3, crucially, takes down the melter even though it was locked on so that it prevents itself from dying, and thanks to that, it looks like we might pick up yet another round. Managing to kill the fortresses, only 2 Overlords left, but there's no chaff remaining on the right side of the board. Looks like this fortress will spawn one more round of fangs though. And the fire is starting to dissipate, but it won't matter. And so round 9 goes to us as well, but we are starting to slow down, and 2 boats is not going to be enough to finish off my opponent. Even though they deal 400 damage, that means that my opponent goes down to 39 hit points. And it will take around 10 to decide the winner of this game, and Lightning Storm shows up. So many red spells have been offered this game. Both of us, of course, pick it up, and yeah, this is not great for me because I kind of wanted to pick Mothership, but yeah, I can't really shield against the storm there. I have so much money as well. Photon has been picked up to try and get some additional tankiness. And yeah, of course, I use the Lightning Storm and I layer it with my Ion Beam that is back off cooldown. And I decide to make a play for the right tower because there's not much I can do on this side of the board. I still decide to pick up the Mothership because I have the money for it, and it should help me move in and perhaps distract anything that might be on the right side. Opponent, though, heads up play, does add a Melter on the right side, realizing the threat of this type of play and the fact that I am in a bit of a bad spot because of the storm. By the way, I can't go for Incendiary Bomb here, for those that are wondering, because it'll just land like here. So it'll basically land like where I'm walking through. I will never manage to land it like underneath his fortresses, which is generally what happens on aggro. Like, Incendiary Bomb Vulcans on aggro are not really a thing, because your opponent can just put stuff on the line and then you just ignite the board right where your units walk. We'll have to see, though, if this is enough. Fully teched Overlords. I haven't even kept track of the amount of money that I made this game, but it's been an awful lot. The Ion Beam is very good. We are managing to hit the fortress there, but it doesn't quite kill the Vulcans. Melter doesn't die to it either, and now we're starting to miss the Giants by the looks of it. Some of that damage is just the storm, and yeah, you can see all of my units there have pretty much died. The board is lit on fire. We're not managing to get through on the right side, it looks like. Overlord just not quite able to do it. This level 3 melting point there, a bit too tanky. We do spawn some wasps. There's one more Overlord left, but I don't think it'll be able to kill this level 3 melter. And so, sadly, we don't manage to close out the game. But it was still a very fun one. Absolute craziness. There are games where you will see one of the 2 players having a game like this, but I have never had a game where both players just are, yeah, swimming in money. Me, literally, because I was using the enhancement module on this new Overlord that cost 250 to upgrade, so you get even more value out of it. I had that intensive training available from round 1 because of the new training specialist, and yeah, the rest is history, I guess. And for my opponent, I mean, efficient giant manufacturing with mass-produced fortress has always been a really, really strong tech combination, especially if you do run Fang production. It gets so much value, you get so many shielded Fangs that it can be tough even for Mustangs to clear. And yeah, I think that I could have probably won this game if I didn't run Mothership and I run HE Overlord, or if I maybe had shielded Wasps on my Wasps, but I don't. I'm currently running Carry Techs, so I can't click that, sadly. And yeah, there's no way for me to test it because the game won't allow me to like test around with the text that I didn't have at the time. But I think that that would have made a big difference. Probably HE would have been better than shielded Wasps. But yeah, it was a fun one. I'm also quite surprised. I mean, AA always does surprise with how powerful it does. There was one like big round where it just like absolutely one-shot the Overlords, even after their 40% health buff. So yeah, still a pretty fearsome anti-air tech, I would say. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. If you've played with intensive training or you've played mass-produced fortress and you have some opinions about it, let me know down below. Want to see me play live? Check me out on Twitch. And with that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.